The accusation. Liam's boots clanked against the cold, metallic floor as two towering alien guards escorted him into the courtroom aboard the galactic cruiser Aegis. The room was vast and imposing, its high ceilings adorned with glowing orbs that pulsed with a faint blue light. Rows of aliens from dozens of species filled the gallery, their eyes fixed on the lone human in the center. Whispers filled the air, buzzing like static in Liam's ears. "Earthlings," one alien muttered, "always causing trouble." Liam swallowed hard, his throat dry. He wasn't a criminal, but it sure felt like he was being treated like one. The guards shoved him forward until he stood before a raised platform, where an imposing figure waited. Alien Officer Kiriva, a tall, silver-scaled warrior with piercing violet eyes, loomed over him. Her uniform, pristine and adorned with medals, reflected her reputation as one of the most feared officers in the galaxy. "Liam Carter," Kiriva said, her voice sharp enough to cut through steel. "You stand accused of smuggling forbidden technology aboard your vessel. How do you plead?" "Not guilty," Liam blurted, raising his hands defensively. "I didn't smuggle anything. I don't even know what you're talking about." Kiriva's eyes narrowed, her long tail flicking behind her in annoyance. "Do not insult this court with lies, human. Our scanners detected an anomalous energy signature on your ship, something you are clearly hiding." Liam's heart raced. Energy signature. What were they talking about? He had spent weeks scavenging parts from derelict ships and forgotten outposts, but he hadn't found anything dangerous, or so he thought. "There must be a mistake," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix ships. I don't deal with whatever you think I have." Kiriva's lips curled into a cold smile. "A likely story. But we will see the truth soon enough." She turned to the crowd, her voice rising with authority. "Prepare the evidence." A holographic display flickered to life, projecting a glowing image of Liam's ship, a battered, outdated freighter he had lovingly nicknamed Rust Bucket. The image zoomed in on the cargo hold, where a faint, pulsating signal was highlighted in red. "This," Kiriva said, pointing at the display, "is the source of the anomaly. Its energy signature matches no known technology, yet it is clearly active. What do you have to say about this, Mr. Carter?" Liam stared at the image, his mind racing. He had no idea what could be causing the signal. Sure, he'd picked up some odd trinkets during his scavenging runs, but nothing that glowed or emitted energy. He opened his mouth to speak but hesitated, knowing anything he said could be twisted against him. I don't know what that is," he said finally. "But I swear, I didn't mean to break any laws. I just collect parts, stuff that's been abandoned." Kiriva's gaze hardened. Convenient excuse, perhaps too convenient. The murmurs in the gallery grew louder, a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Kiriva raised a hand, silencing them. "We will conduct a thorough search of your vessel," she declared. "And if we find you are lying, the consequences will be severe." Liam's stomach churned. He had heard stories about the Galactic Authority's punishments: imprisonment on desolate moons, forced labor in asteroid mines. He had no intention of experiencing any of that. "Wait," he said, stepping forward, though the guards immediately restrained him. "You can't just accuse me without proof. I've done nothing wrong." Kiriva leaned closer, her violet eyes boring into his. "The proof will reveal itself soon enough, human. You may think you're clever, but no one hides secrets from me." Her words sent a chill down Liam's spine. He wasn't hiding anything, was he? Could there be something on his ship he didn't know about? His mind flashed back to the last station he had scavenged, an eerie, abandoned place where the silence had felt heavy. He had grabbed a few items from there without thinking much of it. Could one of them be the source of the signal? Before he could dwell on it further, Kiriva straightened and addressed the gallery. "This hearing is adjourned until the search is complete. Guards, escort the accused to a holding cell." Liam struggled as the guards dragged him away, his protests drowned out by the rising noise of the crowd. Panic and confusion swirled in his mind. What had he stumbled into? And more importantly, what would they find on his ship? As the heavy doors closed behind him, sealing him in the dimly lit cell, one thought refused to leave his mind. If they were right, and something was hidden aboard his ship, what would it mean for him and for everyone else? The search. The hum of machinery echoed through the dimly lit hangar bay as Liam's ship, the Rust Bucket, sat suspended in a sterile energy field. Alien drones swarmed the vessel, their sleek bodies glinting under harsh lights as they scanned every inch of the freighter. Officer Kiriva stood at the edge of the platform, arms crossed, her violet eyes unblinking as she watched the search unfold. "This human thinks he's clever," she muttered to her second-in-command, a stout alien with copper-colored scales named Vrix. "But everyone has secrets. We just have to dig deep enough to find them." Vrix tilted his head. "You really think he's hiding something intentionally? The energy signature could be a fluke." Kiriva's tail twitched. "Flukes don't exist in my line of work. Vrix, if there's an anomaly, there's a reason." Inside the holding cell, Liam paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair. He could see the hangar through a reinforced glass panel, where his beloved Rust Bucket was being torn apart. The drones were meticulous, prying open compartments, scanning hidden panels, and cataloging every piece of scrap he collected. It was like watching someone dissect his life's work. "Come on, Rusty," he muttered under his breath. "Don't let me down." Suddenly, one of the drones emitted a sharp chirp, its scanners flashing red. The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward the source of the alert. The drone hovered near the rear cargo hold, where a small, concealed compartment had just been exposed. Kiriva's lips curled into a satisfied smirk. There it is. The compartment slid open with a mechanical hiss, revealing a small metallic sphere nestled inside. The orb emitted a faint, pulsing glow, its surface etched with intricate alien symbols that seemed to shift and shimmer under the light. Vrix's eyes widened. "That's not standard Earth tech." "Far from it," Kiriva replied, stepping closer to inspect the orb. She waved a scanner over it, and the device immediately began beeping erratically. "The energy signature is off the charts. This thing isn't just alien, it's ancient." The orb's glow intensified as if reacting to their presence. A low hum filled the air, sending a shiver down Kiriva's spine. She'd seen plenty of strange artifacts in her career, but this one felt alive. Back in his cell, Liam could see the commotion and the orb in Kiriva's hands. His heart sank. He didn't recognize the object, but it had clearly been on his ship. How had it gotten there? He racked his brain, trying to remember every piece of junk he picked up during his scavenging runs. "That wasn't supposed to be there," he whispered, his hands gripping the edge of the glass panel. Kiriva's voice crackled through the intercom in his cell. "Care to explain this, Mr. Carter?" Liam stepped closer to the speaker, his voice strained. I don't know what that is. I swear, I've never seen it before." Kiriva's laugh was cold and sharp. "Do you take me for a fool? This artifact is clearly tied to the energy signature we detected. You expect me to believe it just magically appeared on your ship?" Liam's fists clenched. "I'm telling you the truth. I'm just a scavenger. I pick up old parts and scrap. Maybe I grabbed it by accident, but I didn't hide it on purpose." Kiriva stared at the orb, her mind racing. It didn't matter if Liam was lying or telling the truth. What mattered was the potential danger of the artifact. The symbols on its surface looked disturbingly familiar, like something she'd seen in the archives about the long-lost Dilithians, a civilization wiped out by their own creations. "Secure the artifact," she ordered, handing the orb to a technician in a sealed containment suit, "and run a full analysis." As the technician carefully placed the orb into a containment unit, the hum grew louder, and a faint light spread across its surface like ripples on water. The room grew eerily quiet as the orb projected a holographic map into the air, a star system that none of them recognized. Vrix's voice broke the silence. That doesn't look like any system on our charts. Kareva's expression darkened. It isn't. This artifact is pointing us somewhere. Somewhere no one has been before. Liam's voice crackled over the intercom again. I don't know what that thing is, but if it's showing a map, maybe it's important. You can't just lock me up. I could help you figure this out. Kareva turned to the glass panel separating her from Liam, her violet eyes narrowing. You've caused enough trouble already, Earthling. But if this artifact is as significant as I think it is, you may have just stumbled into something much bigger than yourself. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. And trust me, she added, her voice low and sharp, what we find at the end of that map may change everything. For you, for me, and for the galaxy. The holographic map flickered, its image pulsing in time with the orb's glow. For the first time in her career, Kareva felt something she hadn't felt in years. Unease. And in the shadows of his cell, so did Liam. The orb's mystery. The orb sat in the center of the sterile containment lab, its glow casting strange, shifting patterns across the walls. Officer Kareva leaned against the observation glass, arms crossed tightly. Behind her, technicians in sealed suits worked cautiously, their movements deliberate as they scanned and probed the ancient artifact. The hum emanating from the orb had grown louder, almost like a heartbeat, filling the lab with a tense rhythm. Kareva's second-in-command, Vrix, approached her with a datapad. Preliminary scans are in, he said, his copper-scaled face lined with worry. This thing is old, really old. The material doesn't match anything in our known databases. Kareva frowned. And the energy signature. Vrix hesitated. It's not just energy, Mom. It's something else. Some kind of signal, almost like it's trying to communicate. Before Kareva could respond, Liam's voice crackled over the lab's intercom. You're poking at it like it's a broken toaster. Maybe don't, anger the ancient glowing ball. Kareva turned sharply toward the security feed that displayed Liam, still confined in his holding cell. He was slouched on the narrow bench, but his tone carried a mix of sarcasm and genuine concern. Officer, he continued, gesturing at the camera, I might not know what that thing is, but if it starts singing or shooting lasers, I'll be the first to say, I told you so. Quiet, Earthling. Kareva snapped, her voice cold. Your helpful commentary isn't needed. Fine, Liam muttered, leaning back against the wall. But don't come crying to me if it eats one of your tech guys. In the lab, the lead technician cautiously extended a mechanical arm toward the orb. The arm's tip glowed as it attempted to scan the artifact's surface. Suddenly, the orb's glow intensified, flooding the lab with brilliant golden light. Symbols etched on its surface began to shift, forming intricate patterns that pulsed in time with the hum. The technician froze. Mom, it's reacting. Kareva stepped closer to the glass, her sharp eyes narrowing. What kind of reaction? Before the technician could answer, the orb projected a dazzling hologram into the air. The room was bathed in swirling light as a three-dimensional map materialized, showing a distant star system. At its center was a massive, luminous object, a structure, perhaps surrounded by orbiting debris. What is that? Kareva whispered, her voice barely audible. Vrix stared at the map, his jaw tightening. I've never seen that system before. And that structure, it's enormous. Ancient. Liam's voice cut through the silence again. Looks like your magic ball just gave you directions. You're welcome. Kareva ignored him, her focus locked on the map. Something about the projection stirred a memory deep in her mind. She'd seen similar patterns in the galactic archives, buried in reports about the Ilithians, a race that had vanished thousands of years ago. They had been brilliant, but their creations were their undoing. Vrix glanced at her. Do you think it's Ilithian? Kireva didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gestured for the technician to replay the map's activation sequence. As the hologram flickered back to life, her suspicions grew stronger. The symbols weren't just decorative. They were language. "Translate this," she ordered. The technician hesitated. "It's not in any of our databases, ma'am. We'd need weeks to decode it." Kireva clenched her fists. Weeks they didn't have. The orb's hum was growing stronger, and the hologram now included faint warnings, red marks encircling the distant system, as if to say, "Danger. Do not proceed." Back in his cell, Liam watched the scene through the security feed, his brow furrowed. He didn't know much about ancient aliens or glowing orbs, but something about that map made his stomach churn. "I've seen those symbols before," he muttered to himself, his mind racing. A faint memory surfaced, his last scavenging trip to the abandoned outpost. Strange carvings on the walls, a faint hum in the air. And then, the orb. He hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now it all felt connected. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed, pulling him from his thoughts. Kireva's voice filled his cell, low and commanding. "Earthling," she said, "you claim you don't know what this is, but I think you know more than you realize. Start talking." Liam blinked, caught off guard. "I already told you everything. I found it at some derelict station. The place was empty, creepy. I just grabbed it because..." "Because what?" Kireva pressed. "Because it looked interesting. Okay." Liam sighed. "I'm a scavenger. I grab what I can, sell what I don't need. I didn't think it was dangerous." Kireva's gaze hardened. "Whether you thought it was dangerous or not is irrelevant. This artifact didn't end up on your ship by chance. It chose you, human. And now we're all tangled in whatever mess it's leading us to." The orb's glow pulsed again, and the hologram shifted. New symbols appeared, flashing brighter than the others. They weren't just warnings. They were instructions. Kireva turned to Vrix. "Prep the ship. We're following that map." "And the human?" Vrix asked. She glanced at the security feed, where Liam sat, looking both frustrated and nervous. "Bring him," Kireva said. "If this artifact really did choose him, he may be the only one who can unlock its secrets." Liam stared at the camera, his heart sinking as the realization hit him. Whatever this orb was, it wasn't done with him yet. The activation, the journey to the uncharted star system, was nothing short of eerie. The Aegis sliced through the void of space, its engines whispering as if the ship itself knew it was treading where it shouldn't. The holographic map, projected from the orb, flickered on the main bridge. Its shifting patterns seemed alive, adapting to their movements, adjusting their course with each light year traveled. Liam stood on the bridge, flanked by 2 alien guards. His wrists were no longer bound, but their watchful eyes made it clear he wasn't free. He shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the swirling star map. "So, you're just going to follow the glowing ball into the middle of nowhere?" he asked, his tone laced with unease. "That doesn't seem reckless of anyone else." Officer Kireva, seated in the captain's chair, didn't even glance at him. Her violet eyes were locked on the map. "The artifact has led us this far. Whatever lies ahead, we'll uncover the truth, whether you like it or not, Earthling." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, that's super reassuring." As they neared the coordinates marked by the orb, the tension aboard the Aegis grew. The crew whispered about ancient Elithian warnings and cursed technology, but no one dared speak loud enough for Kireva to hear. Even Vrix, usually full of snark, was uncharacteristically quiet. Then the system came into view, the observation deck filled with a collective gasp as the ship emerged from hyperspace. A dying star hung at the center of the system, its light weak and flickering. Surrounding it was a massive structure, a ring of gargantuan black spires connected by an intricate lattice of shimmering metal. The design was unmistakably Elithian. The orb, secured in a containment field at the bridge, began to glow brighter. Its hum deepened, resonating with the ship's hull, as if it were calling to the structure. Liam took a cautious step closer to the observation window, his breath fogging the glass. That thing is enormous. What even is it? A construct? Kareva replied, her voice quieter than usual. Ilithian in origin. It's older than any records we have. And if the orb brought us here, it's more than just a relic. As if responding to her words, the orb's glow pulsed. The map flickered out, replaced by a series of shifting symbols projected into the air. They rearranged themselves into a sequence that the ship's translator struggled to decode. "Ma'am," Vrix said nervously, "the orb's energy output is spiking. It's interacting with the structure." "Let it," Kareva said. A low rumble shook the ship. The crew exchanged panicked glances as the orb emitted a sharp beam of light toward the structure. A moment later, the lattice of metal and spires began to shift, unfolding like a giant mechanical flower. What had seemed dormant was now very much alive. Is it supposed to do that?" Liam asked, stepping back instinctively. "No," Kareva said, standing. "But it's happening regardless. Shields up. Prepare for anything." The orb's light intensified, its hum now almost deafening. Symbols began appearing on every screen across the bridge, their patterns growing more complex. Then the ship's speakers crackled to life, and a voice, ancient and resonant, filled the air. "Designation: unworthy intruders. Access restricted. State your purpose." Liam's eyes widened. Was that the orb? Kireva turned to the technicians. Was that the structure or the artifact? "Both," one of them replied shakily. "It's a linked system. The artifact is the key, and it's communicating with the structure's central core." The voice returned, louder this time. "State your purpose, or face elimination." Kireva took a step forward, her posture commanding. "We are here to uncover the truth about your creators, the Ilithians. This artifact brought us to your location." There was a pause, long enough to make the crew squirm. Then the voice replied, "Access denied. You are not Ilithian." The orb flared again, and Liam stumbled as the hum resonated in his chest. He felt something strange, a pull, as if the artifact was trying to reach him. Without thinking, he stepped closer to the containment field. "Hey, what are you?" One of the guards started, but Liam cut him off. "I don't know, okay?" Liam said, his voice shaky. "But I think it's calling me." Kareva's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "I don't know how to explain it," he shouted. "It's like it knows me, or it thinks it does. Just let me try something." Kareva hesitated for a moment, then gestured to the technician to deactivate the containment field. The orb's light immediately surged toward Liam, wrapping him in a warm golden glow. The crew gasped, and Kareva's hand hovered near her weapon, ready for anything. Liam felt the hum deep in his bones now, a rhythm that wasn't just sound, it was meaning. He reached out a trembling hand and touched the orb. The second his fingers brushed its surface, the ship shook violently, and a cascade of holographic symbols filled the air. The ancient voice returned, but this time it was different. Keyholder identified. Activation sequence initiated. Liam staggered back, his hand still glowing faintly from the orb's touch. What does that mean?" Kareva's face was a mix of awe and suspicion. "It means you just unlocked whatever's inside that structure." The dying star pulsed once, its light dimming further, as the massive Ilithian construct began to power up. Whatever secrets it held were no longer sealed, and whatever lay inside was waking up. The star system. The Aegis drifted closer to the towering Ilithian construct, its engines humming softly in the silence of the dead star system. The dying star at the center emitted weak pulses of crimson light, casting eerie shadows across the jagged lattice of black spires. The structure itself seemed alive, shifting subtly as if breathing, responding to the orb Liam had unknowingly activated. On the bridge, Officer Kiriva stood rigid, her violet eyes locked on the holographic display. The orb's map had dissolved, replaced by a series of symbols cycling across the ship's monitors. They pulsed with an unsettling rhythm, like a heartbeat out of sync with the universe. "Status report," Kiriva barked. Vrix's copper-scaled fingers flew across his console. "The construct is powering up, ma'am. Energy readings are rising exponentially. I've never seen anything like this." Liam leaned against the bulkhead, his eyes wide as he stared at the alien structure through the observation window. "You're telling me that thing's been asleep for how long? Thousands of years. And now it's waking up because of this stupid orb." Kiriva shot him a glare. "Stupid or not, it's linked to you. If you're the keyholder, then you're coming with us to figure this out." "With us? Into that?" Liam gestured wildly at the structure. "I don't even know what I unlocked. For all we know, this thing eats ships." Kiriva's tail flicked in irritation. "You don't have a choice, Earthling. That artifact chose you for a reason. If we don't find out why, we could all be in danger." Before Liam could protest further, the ship's eye interrupted, its voice calm yet urgent. "Alert! A docking port has opened on the structure. Automated guidance systems are requesting access to the Aegis." "Requesting access," Vrix muttered, staring at his screen. "It's inviting us in, or luring us into a trap," Kiriva said, her jaw tightening. She turned to the crew. "Prepare for boarding. Full defensive gear. We're going in." The Aegis glided toward the now open port, the massive black spires looming like the claws of a sleeping beast. As the docking clamps engaged with a metallic clang, a low hum reverberated through the ship, the same rhythm the orb had emitted earlier. Inside the docking bay, the air was thick and still, as if untouched for millennia. The walls were lined with alien runes that glowed faintly, their light casting strange reflections on the glossy black surface. The boarding party, led by Kiriva, moved cautiously through the cavernous space, their weapons drawn. Liam followed reluctantly, his breath shallow as he took in the alien surroundings. "This place feels wrong," he muttered. "Stay close," Kiriva ordered, her sharp gaze scanning the area. "And don't touch anything." As they ventured deeper, the walls seemed to shift subtly, the runes rearranging themselves into new patterns. The orb, held securely in a containment field, pulsed brighter with each step, as though guiding them. "Ma'am," Vrix said, his voice low. "These symbols, they're warnings, something about containment and destruction." Kiriva's eyes narrowed. Destruction of what? Before Vrix could answer, the orb flared brightly, illuminating a massive chamber ahead. At its center stood a colossal structure resembling an altar, its surface covered in intricate carvings. The air around it shimmered, as if warped by intense heat, though the temperature remained cold. Liam stopped in his tracks, staring at the altar. This is what it was pointing to, isn't it?" Kiriva nodded, her voice grim. "The core of the construct. Whatever this place is, it's built around that." The orb pulsed again, and the symbols on the altar began to shift, forming a pattern that matched the glowing runes on the walls. A deep, resonant voice filled the chamber, echoing in a language none of them understood. "What's it saying?" Liam asked, his voice trembling. The ship's translator struggled to keep up, but fragments of the message began to emerge. "Containment breach imminent. Activation required. Time limited. Containment breach." Vrix repeated, his voice rising in alarm. "What containment?" The orb's light intensified, and the chamber began to rumble. The altar shifted, revealing a recessed socket perfectly shaped to fit the orb. Liam took a step back. "No way. Nope. Not doing it. That thing is screaming trap." Kiriva turned to him, her expression sharp. "You're the keyholder. If this construct is falling apart, you might be the only one who can stop it." "Stop it? I don't even know what it is." Liam protested. A deafening crack echoed through the chamber as a section of the wall crumbled, revealing a swirling vortex of darkness beyond. The temperature plummeted, and a strange, otherworldly sound filled the air, like whispers from a void. Kareva grabbed Liam by the arm. "Whatever is breaking out, we can't let it. You're going to put that orb in the altar, and you're going to do it now." Liam hesitated, his heart pounding. The whispers grew louder, clawing at his mind. "I don't think this is just a machine," he said, his voice barely audible. "It's alive. And if we don't act," Kareva snapped, "so is whatever it's trying to keep contained." The decision wasn't his anymore. The orb was glowing so brightly now it felt hot, its hum vibrating through his entire body. The altar's symbols blazed with light, and the vortex yawned wider, its whispers turning into a roar. Liam swallowed hard and stepped toward the altar, every instinct screaming at him to turn back. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing for certain: nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The truth revealed. The chamber fell into an eerie silence as Liam placed the orb into the socket on the altar. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like a deep exhale, the entire structure came alive. The walls pulsed with light, the runes shifting in perfect synchronization. A low hum filled the air, resonating deep in Liam's chest. He stumbled back, his heart racing. Is it supposed to do that?" Kareva didn't answer, her eyes fixed on the altar. The orb sank into the socket, locking into place with a sharp click. A beam of golden light shot upward, piercing the darkness above. It twisted and spread like vines, forming an intricate holographic display that filled the chamber. At its center was an image of a race that hadn't been seen for millennia. Tall, elegant beings with shimmering forms and piercing eyes. Ilithians. Vrix whispered, "That's them. The creators of this place." The hologram shifted, showing scenes of the Ilithians building massive constructs like the one they were in. They worked in harmony, their technology blending seamlessly with nature. But then, the images changed. The Ilithians were shown battling an entity, a swirling mass of shadows with glowing, predatory eyes. It tore through their defenses, consuming everything in its path. A voice echoed through the chamber, calm yet heavy with sorrow. "To those who find this, we were the Ilithians. We created wonders and conquered the stars. But in our ambition, we awakened the eternal hunger." Liam's breath hitched. Eternal hunger. That doesn't sound friendly. The hologram continued, showing the Ilithians desperately building containment structures across the galaxy, each one designed to trap a fragment of the entity. The constructs were connected by a network of orbs, each capable of activating the defenses. "We sacrificed everything to trap the hunger," the voice said. "But the seal will weaken. It requires a keyholder to restore it. If you have come this far, the burden is now yours." The image shifted to the dying star at the heart of the system. Tendrils of dark energy leaked from its surface, writhing like living things. Vrix's voice was tight with fear. "The star, it's breaking. The entity's trying to escape." Kareva's jaw tightened, and this construct is the last barrier holding it back. The hologram's voice continued. "The seal can only be restored by activating the core. But beware, the hunger cannot be destroyed. It will try to break you, to use your fears against you. Only those of strong will can succeed." Liam felt the weight of 1,000 galaxies pressing down on him. This is insane. You're telling me some ancient evil monster is trying to get out, and I'm supposed to stop it? I'm just a scavenger. I don't even know how I got here." Kareva turned to him, her eyes blazing. "You're more than a scavenger now. That orb chose you. The Ilithians saw something in you, something they believed could succeed where they failed." The walls trembled as the chamber began to destabilize. Cracks spread along the ceiling, and the whispers from the void grew louder, forming incomprehensible words that seemed to claw at their minds. Vrix shouted, The containment field is collapsing. If we don't act now. Kiriva silenced him with a sharp gesture. She grabbed Liam by the shoulders, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Listen to me," she said. "You've been thrown into this, and it's not fair. But if you don't do this, that thing will break free. It will consume this star, this system, and everything beyond. You're the keyholder, Liam. Whether you believe it or not, this is your fight." Liam's mind raced. Every part of him wanted to run, to get back to his tiny freighter and leave this nightmare behind. But deep down, he knew Kiriva was right. The orb hadn't come to him by accident. He wasn't here by chance. The holographic voice spoke one final time. "Keyholder, the choice is yours. Restore the seal or let the hunger consume all. Decide quickly. Time is running out." The chamber shuddered violently, and the vortex of darkness began to spread, its tendrils reaching for the walls. Liam looked at the altar, the orb pulsing like a beating heart, and took a deep breath. "I don't know how to do this," he said, his voice trembling. "But if this is what I'm supposed to do, I'll try." Kiriva stepped back, her expression softening for the first time. "That's all anyone can ask." Liam placed his hands on the altar, and the rooms flared to life. The Elythian's voice whispered one final word. "Begin." The chamber filled with light, and the battle for the galaxy's survival began. The final stand. The chamber erupted in chaos as Liam placed his hands on the altar. The orb's glow exploded into a blinding cascade of light, sending waves of energy rippling through the Elythian construct. The entire structure groaned like a waking beast, its spires pulsing in rhythm with the orb. The whispers from the void turned into a guttural roar, and the darkness at the heart of the chamber surged forward, slamming against the walls as though testing its prison. "Containment breach critical," the construct's voice warned, its tone colder now. "Keyholder intervention required. Immediate activation necessary." Liam gritted his teeth as the altar's surface turned searing hot beneath his palms. Symbols danced across the air in front of him, their meaning a mystery. His heart pounded as he shouted over the cacophony, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do." Kiriva, standing just behind him, barked, "Focus, Earthling. The construct is guiding you. Just follow its lead. It's not exactly giving me instructions here." Liam shot back, sweat dripping down his face. Suddenly, a deep voice rumbled from the void itself, a sound so malevolent it sent a chill through everyone in the room. "You cannot contain me," it growled. "I am hunger. I am endless. You are nothing." Liam's knees buckled as the voice slammed into his mind like a tidal wave, dredging up memories he'd buried long ago. His failures, his regrets, the moments when he'd felt utterly powerless. The void's tendrils clawed at his resolve, trying to break him. "You don't deserve this," the voice hissed. "You are weak, unworthy of the burden you carry. Let go, and I will grant you freedom. I will spare you." "No," Liam shouted, his voice trembling but defiant. "You don't get to decide what I'm worth." Kiriva stepped closer, her voice cutting through the din. "Liam, listen to me. That thing is lying. It's trying to break you. Fight it. You've made it this far. You're stronger than it knows." The altar shifted under Liam's hands, the room suddenly aligning into a coherent pattern. He took a deep breath and focused, letting the orb guide him. The symbols glowed brighter, and a series of pathways lit up on the construct's walls. "What's it doing?" Vrix shouted, his weapon aimed at the swirling void. "It's giving him access to the core," Kiriva replied. "But he has to finish the sequence, or the seal won't hold." The void surged again, its tendrils battering the chamber with renewed fury. Pieces of the walls began to crumble, and the air grew thick with the acrid smell of burning metal. "Keyholder," the construct's voice boomed. "Activation will require sacrifice. Are you prepared?" Liam froze. "Sacrifice? What kind of sacrifice?" The answer came in a rush of images. The seal could only be fully restored if someone stayed behind to anchor it. The process would bind the keyholder's life force to the construct, ensuring the hunger could never escape again. Kiriva's eyes widened as she saw the saying message on her console. "Liam, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he interrupted, his voice steady now. He looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. "This is my mess. My responsibility. If I don't do this, everything's gone. You, your crew, the galaxy, it all ends." "No," Kiriva snapped, her tail lashing. "We'll find another way. There has to be another way." "There isn't," Liam said firmly. "And you know it." The orb pulsed one final time, its glow surrounding Liam like a golden cocoon. He turned back to the altar and pressed his hands against it, the heat no longer bothering him. The symbols flared to life, and the chamber filled with a deafening roar as the void recoiled, its tendrils shrinking back. "Liam!" Kiriva shouted, reaching for him, but the light grew too bright, forcing her to shield her eyes. The void screamed, its voice filled with rage and desperation. "You cannot hold me forever. I will return." Liam smiled faintly, his voice barely audible over the roar. "Not if I have anything to say about it." With a final surge of light, the altar sealed the void, the tendrils disappearing into nothingness. The chamber fell silent, the oppressive darkness replaced by a soft, golden glow. Kiriva lowered her arm, blinking against the sudden calm. The altar was quiet now, and the orb was gone. So was Liam. Vrick stepped forward, his voice hesitant. He did it. The seal is restored." Kiriva's tail drooped, her usually sharp features softened by a rare expression of grief. She approached the altar, running her hand over its cool surface. "He shouldn't have had to do it," she muttered. As the crew began to retreat, the construct's voice spoke one last time. "Keyholder's sacrifice accepted, containment restored. Remember his name. Liam Carter of Earth." Kiriva straightened, her jaw tightening. "Oh, they'll remember him," she said quietly. "I'll make sure of it." As the Aegis pulled away from the construct and into the safety of space, Kiriva found herself staring at a faint light in her quarters, a second orb, hidden among Liam's belongings, glowing softly. She picked it up, her fingers brushing its surface. "You're not done yet, are you?" she murmured. The orb pulsed gently, as if agreeing. And somewhere, in the heart of the sealed construct, Liam's resolve remained, holding back the eternal hunger for as long as he could.